Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Jeff K of Home Video Studio of Charleston, West Virginia. Jeff, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to this.
Definitely been looking forward to it as well. And what I want to do before we jumped into the interview is read a little bit more about Jeff so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. In Home Video Studio of Charleston, West Virginia specializes in video editing, video to DVA, digital video archive, video to DVD transfer, DVD and CD duplication, photo/video montages, super 8mm, 8mm, and 16mm home video transfers, 35mm slide transfers, smartphone and smart TV transfers, web videos, videotape repair, and much, much more. Jeff, great to have you on the show. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, you take everything, sounds like it might be kind of a little bit more old and make it a lot more new, it sounds like. So
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I read a little bit, about what you do and how you do it. Could you take us through a little bit more on what led you there and what I like to call your CEO story?
Sure. I actually had a passion for video and sound and all that back in, I'll date myself here a little bit, about 25 years ago. But my parents were like, no, you can't do that. We prefer if you went the corporate route. So I went the corporate route for about 30 years. After being laid off 5 times, yes, you heard me right, 5 times, I decided to pursue my passion. Well, actually, there was a step before then. My parents passed away about 3 years ago, and my sister and I were left with film, CDs, or 16mm, 8mm, tons of photo albums, and moving boxes full. And she's like, "Well, we better divide all this stuff up to see who wants what." And I'm like, "I've got a better idea. Let's digitize it and everybody can have a copy. In addition, it preserves the memories themselves, because as I'm looking through all these older pictures, they fade, and you can't get them out of the photo books and things of that nature. So I work to actually restore the luster of the memory in the image. And with that being said, one of the things that I found really interesting is, after my parents died, I was going through my grandfather's wallet. Within his wallet, I found a picture of his mother, which goes back to the late 1800s. And that memory is just priceless. I mean, you can't, I can't get another picture of it. And it's something I want to preserve for my kids and my grandkids. I mean, I've never seen a picture of my great grandmother. So it's been a very interesting journey and very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Obviously, sorry to hear about your parents, but I think, you captured it. I think what sometimes we forget about these memories that we have, especially if they're not digital already. Just how can we capture that? Because we can't get another one of those pictures back. We can't get another time of that memory back. So to be able to kind of restore that, for lack of a better term, and have that so that it's not just for you, but potentially for so many family members, is absolutely huge.
Yeah, because one of the things I tell my clients and my customers is that you have home insurance, you have car insurance, you potentially have flood insurance, fire insurance, but what do you do if one of those affects your home and you lose all your memories? You don't have photo insurance. So that's kind of what I think of myself as. I kind of provide photo insurance so people can provide their lifelong memories and pass them down to future generations.
Yeah, absolutely. The opportunity to preserve those things. And I think even if, you know, you had quote unquote photo insurance, if that, I don't even know if that exists, but
No,
let's
it
just say
doesn't.
I didn't think so.
No,
But
it doesn't
even,
exist.
even so, you're not going to be able to get that image back,
No,
you know?
no.
So even if there was something like that, you know, it doesn't actually come back as it was. So that's why I love the work that you do, because it preserves those things. It creates it so that it's digital, and you can take those, you know, images and have those, you know, digitally so that they can be across different platforms, be used by different people. So, definitely appreciate that. So I know I read a little bit, you know, on how you work with your clients, and how you kind of convert those different types of media. Could you take us through a little bit more about that, and how that process goes, and what you feel is maybe what I like to call your secret sauce, and what sets you apart and makes you unique?
Well, a lot of my clients, I'll take you through my most recent client who just came by today. He brought me 800 slides from the Vietnam Korea War. I scanned those slides, digitized them, and now I'm in the process of color restoration. And when he came by and I told him what I was doing, his eyes just lit up, which is why I do what I do. But given the fact that everybody's is worried about COVID, and I know exists. I know people are afraid of dropping or afraid of going out and all these things. So I offer a few services. One, UPS, and for those who are afraid of shipping their memories because they are priceless, I do use UPS so I can provide a tracking number and I can track it. Nothing has ever been lost. Um, I also offer pick up and drop off, and I'm going to meet my clients. So I mean, I think it's important in this day and age to adapt. Uh, with respect to my secret sauce, you know, it's funny. I've been thinking about that because it's not an easy question. Um, you, there are a lot of companies, or I shouldn't say a lot, several companies that do similar things to what I do. But one of the things that I think of my secret sauce is me, actually. When somebody picks up the phone, and I'm not looking to bash any of the companies here, um, when somebody picks up the phone, you get me, you get the owner, and you aren't handed off to somebody else for maybe one department for slides, maybe another department for photos, maybe another department for something else. You get me, and I work with you to make sure I understand exactly what you want because I want to make sure my customer is happy with my services.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. No, I appreciate you for sharing that. It's so funny that you say that, because I often say on the podcast, if you run your own race, you can never lose. And I think that it kind of taps
True.
into who you are and what kind of even sets you apart, and builds the foundation for the business as well too. Because I think if you have that, even if you don't own the company, I guess, but you have that ownership, and that exudes itself in everything that you do, you can tell often the difference, you know, between that. So I
Oh
love
yeah,
that you've been able to kind of put you know, within the business to be able to make it that secret sauce.
yeah. I mean, it's it's your personality. It's maybe your sense of humor. It's how you build relationships with people,
Hmm.
and it's that knack that I work off of.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Well, I wanted to switch gears a little bit. And I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
More effective than efficient. There 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 are a couple hacks that I use. There's a tool out there called what's it called? A loop deck, I believe,
Mhm.
and it works with interfaces with like Adobe products. So it provides you like a bunch of shortcuts. You don't have to go through the menu and find out, oh, what's this for this and what's this for this. You've got a keyboard sitting right in front of you. And I know I mentioned the fact that, oh, I was doing 800 slides. Well, I didn't actually go through and snap 800 slides individually. I have what's called a Slide Snap Pro, which you attach a camera to it, and it's basically a slide projector, and it goes through the slides, and it takes photos about 1,800 a minute. And once that's done, then that's brought into Adobe Lightroom, where I can use my Looped App and touch up the photos as needed, crop them, brighten them up, things of that nature.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, anything that provides that opportunity to kind of save time. And I love the whole entire process as well, too, because I think so many times, especially as I imagine clients and customers as excited as your client that came in, today was, you probably don't really see the behind the scenes of how and what that process looks like. So it's great to kind of hear like those different hacks that help you to make that happen.
It's kind of like your Michael Jordan, so to speak. You don't see what's going on in the background and the hours of practice that was put in. You just see what's on the court.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely, very much so. Yeah, you don't see you see them make the shot. You don't see all the times that they practice the shot over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget, which could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Being in the corporate world for 25 years and having a lot of education, mind you, which I'm not going to get into, but the thought of working for somebody, they tell you how much you can make, what your worth is, when you can take vacation, when you're eligible for a raise, how much sick leave you have, or if you're not feeling well. These are things, well, if they're great if you want to work for a company and you don't want to maybe take the risk and take the plunge to own your own business. But working for somebody, I don't want to say it's easier, but working for yourself, you put in a lot more hours. But the nice side of that is the fact that any mistake you make, it's on you. You don't have a boss micromanaging you. You don't have to answer to anybody except yourself. And if I was going to go back in time, I know I mentioned before that, oh, my parents didn't support it. Well, you know what? I would tell myself to step up to your parents. It's your life. You did what you wanted to do. Now it's my life. I want to pursue my dream and my passion. And that being said, I mean, a lot of people go to work, but the question that I would have for them is, you go to work, but do you like what you do? Because if you like what you do, then it's not work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the quote is, find something you love to do. You never work a day in your life. And
That's
I think
right.
that, as you said, so well, I love that, because so many times we forget that we do have, quote unquote, even if we're not, owners of our bit, we have ownership of our life in order to make decisions or not make decisions. And I think that if we step up to the plate a lot of times, especially if we have gifts, talents, interests, passions, to kind of it doesn't even necessarily have to be, starting your own business. It could just be leaning more into that. But I think if we do that a lot more, we'll start to see that there are opportunities, there are things that come about, as a result of that. But I think we also will feel more fulfilled within our lives and in our business if we do that. So I love that nugget, just because it reminds us of how important it is to sometimes make the difficult decisions that we have to do, but they might be in alignment with who we are too.
Well, and to bridge off of that, everybody's different. Everybody has a gift that they were given. So my question would be to people who are listening: are you using your gift in the best way that suits you? Because it might be scary to venture out on your own, but you don't have to like quit one thing and jump into another. You can do two things simultaneously. Maybe you started off as a hobby or something like that, and slowly grow it into a business. It's not like, so you don't have to like just take the risk and wear one hat one day and throw the hat away and then put on another hat. No, you have to. I mean, you have to do what makes sense, and it takes time. It takes effort to grow a company and grow a business. But in my experience, I think it's well worth the risk, and the return has been amazing.
Yeah.
I have less stress. I can control my own hours. I mean, I can control when I want to go on vacation. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was laid off last time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something else that was out of my control.
Yeah. Yeah, as somebody who has been laid off as well once and maybe was going to be twice, well, definitely was going to be twice. I know how frustrating that can be, and I think a lot of times you get the opportunity to take the bull by the reins, so to speak, and take your future by the horns. But I love that you talked about it doesn't necessarily have to be going from 0 to 60 in order to start you start leaning into your passions and your gifts. It could be starting out as a hobby, then going maybe as a side hustle, and then building up from there. But it rang, I really resonated with the fact that you said, the gifts piece, because I think so many times we are giving gifts not to hold them, not to, hide them. I think it's to make an impact in our lives and in the lives of others. So I think it's also something big that we have to ask ourselves that question that you did, how are you using your gifts? And I think if we ask that, then hopefully that will create that forward momentum towards where we ultimately are making a huge impact in the universe.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, truly appreciate that. And I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, Jeff, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Freedom. Freedom, or since I'll say I'm a corporate rebel, is how I like to put it. The corporations and me really didn't mix, given my my gift. So I'm using my gifts to benefit others. So I might not have fit in over here in the corporate world, but I did find a better fit for me in this world, in what I'm doing now.
Yeah. That's extremely powerful. It's so funny. I was reading something or listening to something. I want to say it was a couple of weeks ago, and it says a lot of times you may not fit in because you're not supposed to be there. You're not fitting in because you're supposed to be standing out. And I think if we often find those other opportunities that might be starting a business, might be leaning into our passions or hobby, whatever that might be, that allows you that opportunity to kind of stand out. So I love that corporate, rebel. I love that freedom piece, because I think they go hand in hand, because when you are being and staying in alignment, then you do feel that freedom. You do often not fit in with way everything else should be. So I love that definition, because it speaks so much to just creating your own path and creating your own life.
Plus, it provides you an inner peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's no better freedom than that. So definitely appreciate that. Well, Jeff, truly appreciate that again. And I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're working on.
Sure. You can get a hold of me. My phone number is 304-933-3375. Or I'll give you my website, which is mydigital-memories.com. Don't forget the hyphen. And you asked me something else. What was the other part of the
Just
question?
if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners
know? For those who have seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, if you remember the very last part of the movie where he gets ready to step out onto an invisible bridge because he doesn't know what's there, and you have to believe. That's what I want to leave with you. Use your gift and believe, and take that step, because you don't know where that path might take you.
Absolutely love that, Jeff. And we will definitely have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can get a hold of you and contact you. But I love that visual. I love that reminder, because I think a lot of times we want to have all the steps laid out before we take that first step. And sometimes that doesn't happen. But that's part of, being able to kind of lean into your gift and sometimes create your own path, be the corporate rebel, as you kind of defined as well, too, is not sometimes knowing all the steps, of being confident enough and having enough faith and belief to be able to take those steps. So appreciate you for reminding us of that and doing that. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. I really appreciate doing this for you.